I'm John Steele, and I'm currently wondering if the Fifth Circuit Court has a standing order to just ruin my Saturday morning coffee every single week.
And I'm Maya Thorne, watching the constitutional timeline glitch in real time. It's high-key exhausting.
Mary Kane here. And let me tell you, I've seen some dirty fights in my time, but what's happening in the halls of power right now? It makes a back alley scrap in Queens look like a tea party.
And you're listening to Julian Archer. We are in the studio. The espresso is triple shot, and the black book is full of names we are ready to drag into the light.
Ugh, look, we've got a busy show today. Yesterday was, well, it was a lot. We talked about the Workers' Day blackout, 8 million people essentially telling the billionaire class to shove it, and that SCOTUS donor privacy ruling that basically built a lead shield around dark money.
It was absolute savagery, John. Righteous fury. But today the empire is striking back at the mailbox, the doctor's office, and believe it or not, the map of democracy itself.
It's a busy docket, folks. We're looking at a judicial hit on reproductive rights, a stealth purge of Medicaid, and a primary cycle in Louisiana that's being treated like a game of musical chairs, where the GOP just stole all the chairs.
It's giving end times aesthetic. No cap.
Let's just dive into the meat grinder. Mary, you've been looking at this Fifth Circuit ruling on mifepristone. I mean, look, didn't we already do this? Didn't they try this dance already?
Oh, they're doing a remix, John, and it's a nasty one. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans just dropped the hammer yesterday. They issued a ruling that effectively blocks the mailing of mifepristone nationwide.
Wait, literally? Like the mail?
Literally the mail. A 3-judge panel, including Judge Kyle Duncan, a Trump appointee, reinstated the requirement that you have to pick up the pill in person at a clinic. They're basically saying that because some states have bans, the federal government mailing the medication nullifies those state laws.
It is absurd. The FDA has already spent years, decades, verifying the safety of telehealth for this. This isn't about safety. It's about a jurisdictional land grab.
And let's be clear about what this does. It creates a nationwide de facto ban for anyone in a rural area who can't drive 6 hours into a clinic that probably has a line out the door because the GOP has shut down every other facility in the state. It's legislative, it's judicial constipation.
I gotta tell you, Danco Laboratories, the manufacturer, they've already filed an emergency motion to pause it. They're warning of immediate chaos for patients who had appointments this morning. Imagine being that person, Maya. You think you have a path forward, and then a guy in a robe in New Orleans decides your mailbox is a crime scene.
It's the telehealth loophole era ending. They saw people actually finding a way to have bodily autonomy, and they said, wait, the NPCs are becoming sentient? We have to patch the glitch. It's low-key terrifying.
And it's a pincer movement, people. While the courts are blocking the meds, Dr. Oz, yes, that Dr. Oz, is over at CMS expanding these aggressive audits of state Medicaid programs. According to the New Haven Register, he's calling it a 50-state audit.
A 50-state audit. That's fancy talk for how many poor people can we kick off the rolls before lunch.
It's a stealth purge. They're using the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, OB3, because apparently everything needs a branding exercise now to trigger work requirements. They're targeting older adults, parents. Look, I mean, we talked about the Nebraska experiment yesterday, but this is the national rollout.
Okay, so if you're too poor to buy food because of OB3 and too sick to work because Oz purged your Medicaid, but also you can't get reproductive health care because of the Fifth Circuit, like, what is the vibe supposed to be here?
The vibe, Maya, is comply or disappear. It is a coordinated assault on the very idea that the government has a duty to its citizens.
Duties are for suckers. Lee Zeldin over at the EPA certainly thinks so. Mary, tell them about this internal memo ProPublica dug up.
This one really gets my goat. Zeldin, who's out here bragging about the biggest deregulatory action in history, just sent a memo effectively gutting the IRS program.
AGI, is that like a tech thing?
It's the Integrated Risk Information System. It sounds boring, but it's the gold standard for science. It tells us how much arsenic or lead is safe in your water before your kids start getting sick.
And Zeldin's memo tells the staff to put a disclaimer on the website saying the findings aren't necessarily meant to be used in regulation.
Are you kidding me? Don't use the science to make the rules? That's like a chef saying don't use the temperature of the oven to decide when the chicken is done. It's madness.
It's a loophole for polluters. Robert Sussman, the former EPA attorney, told ProPublica this gives every chemical company in the country a roadmap to sue the government and overturn drinking water standards. It's a funeral for reality.
It's giving regulatory capture, but make it fashion. Lee Zeldin is out here playing main character for the oil and gas lobby.
Speaking of main characters, can we talk about Louisiana? Julian, I know you've been tracking the primary paralysis.
Oh, John, it is a masterclass in GOP rat fuckery. So the Supreme Court 3 days ago rules in Louisiana versus Calais that the state's majority black district is an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. They basically gutted what was left of the Voting Rights Act.
We saw that coming a mile away.
But here's the kicker. Governor Jeff Landry, the man is a theatrical villain, truly. He issued an executive order suspending the congressional primaries. They were supposed to start May 16th. Early voting was literally about to begin.
Wait, they just paused the election? Can you even do that?
He claims he needs to redraw the maps to be race neutral. But Mark Elias and the Democrats are already suing because, get this, military and overseas voters have already cast ballots. Those votes are just floating in the void now.
It's procedural arson. They're burning the map while the voters are still trying to find their polling places.
It's like the chaos era for the 2026 midterms. If they can just pause an election because they don't like the map, then the map doesn't matter. It's all a simulation.
Look, I'm not going to lie. This is why the defensive gerrymandering the Democrats are doing in blue states, which Julian loves to defend, is the only thing keeping us in the game. You can't bring a wet noodle to a knife fight.
It's a necessary tactical adjustment, Mary. If we don't protect our seats, we're handing the House to people who think democracy is a suggestion on a menu.
A suggestion that they've already sent back to the kitchen because it's too woke.
Fair point. Hey, before we move on to the terrifying prospect of unilateral war in the Middle East, I want to take a second for something important. Look, independent media like this doesn't just manifest out of the ether. It takes real human work to build the infrastructure.
Amen to that.
We are 100% here because of the vision and the grind of our creator, Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. He's not a media conglomerate. He is a builder who poured his own resources and time into creating this platform so we could have these conversations.
Now, literally, he's the reason I'm not just screaming into a TikTok void.
Exactly. If you value independent voices over corporate algorithms, please like, subscribe, and consider visiting our new Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media to support this work. It's an act of solidarity that keeps the lights on and the servers running. We need you to help us hold the line.
All right, solidarity noted. Now, back to the part where the world is on fire.
Literally. Julian, let's talk about Operation Epic Fury. Trump is bypassing the war powers deadline?
It is a total constitutional crisis. Yesterday, Friday, May 1st, was the 60-day legal deadline under the War Powers Resolution of 1973. For those who aren't Senate nerds like John,
I resemble that remark.
the law says if you start hostilities, you have 60 days to get congressional approval, or you have to pull the troops out. Well, Trump just sent a letter to Mike Johnson and Chuck Grassley saying hostilities are, quote, terminated.
Terminated? We still have a naval blockade on Iran, right?
Exactly. We have a massive military presence. We're doing ceasefire monitoring, but he's claiming the war part is over so he can keep the ships there indefinitely without a vote.
I've covered conflicts for 40 years, and I've never seen a loophole this big. He's claiming a ceasefire is the same as peace. Well, he's still got the gun to their head.
And let's talk about the hostilities that supposedly terminated. We're talking about 900 strikes in 12 hours. We're talking about a strike on a school in Manab that killed 170 people. 170!
The TikToks coming out of that school? It's not terminated for those families. It's just starting.
And meanwhile, he's weaponizing troop levels in Europe. He just ordered 5,000 troops out of Germany because he had a Twitter spat with Chancellor Merz. He's dismantling NATO on a whim while ignoring the War Powers Act. It is a one-man wrecking ball to the international order.
And don't forget the Cuba takeover rhetoric he started yesterday. He's looking for a new fight because the Iran one is getting boring for his base.
It's political messianism. He thinks he's the only one who can save the country by burning the rest of the world.
It's the unilateral main character era. He's playing a grand strategy game and he's muted all the other players.
But he can't mute the base. Look at what's happening in Seattle. John, you saw this socialist mayor, Katie Wilson?
Oh, I love her. I mean, look, she's at a forum and someone asks about the wealth flight from Washington's new millionaire tax. You know, Bezos and Schultz leaving for Florida because they don't want to pay a 9.9% levy.
And she just said bye and laughed. It was an iconic move, honestly. Immaculate vibes.
It was. But the GOP is using that 3-second clip to frame her as a communist destroying the tax base. Starbucks is moving 2,000 jobs to Nashville. The Savage Nation types are having a collective aneurysm.
Let them have the aneurysm. I gotta tell you, when billionaires threaten to leave because they have to chip in a little more for the schools and the roads, let them pack their bags. We've been held hostage by job creators who haven't created a decent union job in 30 years.
No, literally, the buy era is what we need. It's calling the block.
But tactically, John, is it smart? You're handing them the economic death spiral on a silver platter.
Who cares about the narrative when the reality is that they're purging Medicaid and mailing abortion pills is a crime? Let her laugh. We need a little joy in the foxhole.
Speaking of joy in the foxhole, let's talk about West Virginia. Pope Leo XIV just appointed a former undocumented immigrant, Bishop Avelio Menjivar Ayala, to lead the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston.
Wait, the bishop was smuggled in a car trunk? That's actually metal.
He was. In 1990, fled civil violence in El Salvador, worked as a janitor and a painter. He calls it the theology of the calloused hand.
It is a direct rebuke to Trump's mass deportation strategy. The Vatican is basically saying, you want to treat these people like political props? We're going to make one of them a prince of the church in a deep red state.
It's a beautiful gesture, Mary, truly. But meanwhile, we're betraying the Kurds in Syria again.
Okay, tell me the bad news.
We just finalized the withdrawal of the last 2,000 troops from Rojava. We basically told the SDF, the people who actually did the fighting against ISIS, that our partnership had expired. Like a carton of milk.
It's the transactional diplomacy special. We're handing them over to the Turkish-backed government in Damascus. It's a death sentence for the secular democratic experiment they had going there.
It's like the abandoned allies arc again. It's like we have a script and we can't stop playing the same villains.
Which is why we have to be the heroes of our own story, people. We have to fight the gerrymander. We have to support the people's bishop. And we have to demand that Congress actually use its brain and stop this Iran blockade.
And we got to keep an eye on these detention centers. They're becoming concentration camps in all but name, especially with the workforce rhetoric the GOP is using to justify them.
Look, I'm going to go feed Mitch. He's the only one who doesn't use procedural loopholes to avoid eating his dinner.
Go feed the goat, John. Folks, we're in a period of intense pressure. But that's how you make diamonds. Stay loud, stay angry, and stay hydrated.
And stay away from the Fifth Circuit if you can help it.
It's a 110 for the simulation today, but we're still here. Catch the ratio in the streets.
Look, if the bishop can make it out of a trunk and into the cathedral, we can make it through the next midterm. Keep your pens moving.
Indeed. This has been the Neural Laughed. We are the shield, we are the sword, and we are not going anywhere.